Okay, Yums 11. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So, welcome to another episode of discussion. So, again, we are in modular setup and we don't have a choice but to continue. Okay, so we are always finding a way on how to make our discussion more interactive and accessible for the students. Okay, that's why I'm here. Okay, I decided to record the discussion about Mahayana Buddhism just for you to learn, okay, the different information or um what do you call this, knowledge about Mahayana Buddhism, which is essential or aligned in the learning competency that we need to attain. Okay, so anyway, okay, so without further ado, let's start the discussion. Ayan. So today we'll discuss one of the largest sect of Buddhism, which is Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, and we don't have a problem on this since we already discussed the general concept of Buddhism in the previous discussion. Okay, who is the founder? Okay, the sacred text, the doctrines, the teachings. But we are going to, okay, again discuss it. Okay, because there is a distinction. Okay, since we are going to discuss a specific type of Buddhism. Ayan, so for the learning competency, okay, analyze the brief history, core teachings, fundamental beliefs, practices, and related issues of Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, for the learning objectives, okay, our goal is to discuss the history of Mahayana Buddhism, how it starts, how it propagates through time, or how it develops, okay, through time. Together with the beliefs and practices. I-discuss natin yan. And of course, the issues they face. Ayan. Okay. So for the second one, draw the insight from the acts of generosity of Tzu Chi Foundation that reflect the core teaching of Mahayana. Okay, so for your information, Tzu Chi Foundation is one of the organization founded under Buddhism, okay, that aims to provide or to give assistance for those individual or people who is in need. Okay, and then for the third one, relate the Mahayana Buddhism to teachings of your religion. Okay, so we will compare or we will relate rather the correct term to the Mahayana Buddhism to Christianity. Ayan. Ayan. So let's start. So Mahayana Buddhism, believing itself as the more genuine version of Buddha's teaching. Okay, yung mga Buddhist na members ng Mahayana, they believe that Mahayana is the most genuine version of Buddhism. Okay, but if we're going to ask the other sect, which is the Theravada, syempre iba yung sasabihin nila. Syempre, ako din, pag tinanong ako, okay, Christianity, for me, Christianity is the most genuine religion. Sino bagang tao yung parang itatakwil niya yung religion, di ba? Niya. Okay, so Mahayana Buddhism has diverged into numerous schools with each developing its own canon and rituals since its founding more than 2,000 years ago. Okay, so nung na-found na po na itatag yung Mahayana Buddhism, madami silang naipatayo. Okay, na mga Buddhist schools. Kung ating i-compare sa Roman Catholic or sa Christians, we have different types of Christian schools, di ba? Similar din sa Mahayana, madami po silang naipatayong mga schools. But through that, nang nakapagpatayo po sila ng mga schools, naging problem din yon. Kasi nga, ang sinasabi, developing its own canon and rituals since its founding more than 2,000 years ago. Kumbaga, may mga naipatayo, okay, na mga Buddhist school under Mahayana. Pero yung iba, nagkaroon ng distinction. That's why, under Mahayana, sekta na nga siya ng Buddhism, may sekta pa din. Okay, yung Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, so the word Mahayana is known as the Great Vehicle. Okay, bakit kaya tinawag siyang Great Vehicle? Makikita natin later bakit Great Vehicle yung pinaka-term. Okay, so Mahayana Buddhism emerged after the monastic rule and doctrinal differences within the original form of Buddhism. Kumbaga wala naman madaming similarity sa general. Okay, or sa traditional teachings ng Buddhism. Pero meron pa ding distinction ang Mahayana. Okay, so let's start the history, how it starts. So, Mahayana Buddhism emerged as a distinct movement within Buddhism around the 1st century BCE. Okay, during a time of intellectual ferment in India. Okay, so nagsimula daw ang Mahayana Buddhism during the intellectual ferment in India. Ano ba yung tinatawag nating intellectual ferment? Okay, kumbaga 'di ba, pag sinabi nating Renaissance, rebirth. Okay, ano ba yung intellectual ferment in India? A period. Okay, so when we say intellectual ferment, it is a time of great creativity and innovation in the fields of philosophy, religion, and culture. Okay, kumbaga, ang daming innovation na nangyari during that time. At kasabay nito, okay, kasabay na namayagpag na develop yung Mahayana during that time. Okay, so it was within this context that Mahayana Buddhism emerged and began to flourish. Okay, ayan. So, but, okay, the most reliable, kumbaga, yung pinaka common, okay, common starts ng Mahayana Buddhism. They believe that the Mahayana Buddhism was founded after the Second Buddhist Council. Okay, so at this council, okay, which was held in the city of Vaishali, there were disagreements among the monastic community about the nature of the Buddha and his teachings. Okay, nung nagkaroon ng Second Buddhist Council, okay, syempre yung mga attendees dito, mga Buddhist. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag dyan na banggit. Nagkaroon sila ng disagreements among the monastic community. Okay, about sa nature ng teachings ni Buddha. Okay, some scholars believe that it was at this council that the idea of the Bodhisattva was formed. Okay, so may mga naniniwala na during this council, dito na unang na-form yung konsepto or the concept of the Bodhisattva. Ano ba yung tinatawag nating Bodhisattva? Okay, so when we say Bodhisattva, it is a being who seeks enlightenment not just for oneself, but for the benefit of all beings first emerge. Okay, so yung tinatawag nating Bodhisattva, ito yung tao din naman siya. Okay, tao naman siya, okay, na nag-hahanap din, okay, ng enlightenment, pero hindi lamang sa kanyang sarili. Okay. Ito ay not just for oneself but for the benefit of all beings. Kung babalikan natin sa ating ibang mga references na natitingnan, pag sinabi nating Bodhisattva, siya yung taong dinelay niya yung own enlightenment. Okay, para sa ibang tao. Para syempre, sabay-sabay sila. Okay, na ma-enlighten. Kumbaga sa Mahayana, kung sila ay gusto nilang ma-attain ng enlightenment in group or unified. Okay, which is totally different doon sa older version ng Buddhism. Okay, which is wherein yung older version naniniwala sila na para ma-attain natin ang enlightenment, okay, individually through meditation. Nung nakita nga natin, 'di ba, si Buddha na nagme-meditate sa under the Bodhi tree, okay, may kasama po ba siya doon? 'Di ba, wala. Okay, but in Mahayana, okay, unified, sama-sama. Okay, in the presence of the Bodhisattva. Kaya balikan natin yung kaninang tinatawag na great vehicle. Bakit kaya tinawag na great vehicle? Okay, yung ating Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, great vehicle. Ano ba yung vehicle? Sasakyan. Pag sinabi natin sasakyan, madami ang sakay ng mga passenger. Sino yung driver? Kumbaga parang ikino-compare ko lang naman na totally yun yung pinaka-explanation for that. Okay, so kumbaga yung pinaka-driver natin dyan is yung Bodhisattva. Okay, na kasama natin yung mga passengers, yung mga members. Okay, siya yung pinaka-leader doon na mamamagitan, kumbaga, para marating nila ng sabay-sabay yung destination nila, which is the enlightenment. Okay. Of course, kung merong Second Buddhist Council, baka magtanong naman kayo sa akin, Sir, meron po bang First Buddhist Council? Of course, meron. The First Buddhist Council is believed to have been held shortly after the Buddha's passing, around 483 BCE at the Satapani Cave in Rajgir, India. Okay, complete yung location, ano? So, pakitandaan na lang yun, baka lumabas sa quiz. But the main question here in the first Buddhist Council, kung sa second Buddhist na form si Mahayana na form yung concept ng Bodhisattva, ano naman yung nangyari dito or ano yung goal ng first Buddhist Council? Okay, so since namatay na nga si Buddha, okay, nangyari ito after mamatay ni Buddha, yung council na ito is, ang pinaka main goal is to preserve the teachings of Buddha. Okay, yun yung pinaka goal nila. The council was presided over by the Buddha's disciple known as Mahakasyapa. And ito ay inatenda ng 500 senior monks. At the council, the teachings were recited and compiled into three baskets or collections known as the Tripitaka or Tipitaka or the Pali Canon. Okay, which include the Buddha's discourses, the sutras, the Sutta Pitaka, the monastic rules, the Vinaya Pitaka, and the philosophical and psychological treatises, which is known as the Abhidharma Pitaka. Okay, so doon nila kinompiled para ma-preserve yung mga teachings ni Buddha. Yun yung goal ng First Buddhist Council. At yung ating Second Buddhist Council, yan ay naganap 100 years after the First Buddhist Council. Okay, pakitandaan nun ha. Okay, so Mahayana means great vehicle and refers to the idea that this form of Buddhism is inclusive and can help a greater number of people to reach enlightenment than the other forms. Okay, kaya nga na-explain ko na, 'di ba? Yung great vehicle kasi nandyan yung konsepto ng Bodhisattva. Siya yung pinaka may role model nila. Okay, may grupo. Okay, yung Bodhisattva natin is the man who naghahanap ng enlightenment not just for oneself, hindi lang para sa kanyang sarili, but for the benefits of all beings. Okay, so excuse me for that. Ayan, so for the third one, Mahayana Buddhism began to spread to other regions of Asia including China, Japan, Mongolia, Korea, Tibet, and Vietnam. Okay, ang dami pala, no? Okay, from India, nag-spread out yung ating Mahayana from China, Japan, Mongolia, Korea. Ayan, so mostly is sa Asia talaga na lumaganap or nag-spread out. Okay, so but the main question here is, bakit kaya mabilis yung propagation ng Mahayana? Okay, dito sa Japan, China, Korea. Okay, so, di ba, kung babalikan natin yung history natin sa AP, sino ba or ano yung type of government dito sa mga countries na to mostly? Di ba, monarch mostly. Pinamunuan sila ng mga empress, emperor, or king and queen. Okay, so syempre, pag sinabi ng emperor or king na this is the religion that we need to follow, you have no choice, okay, to follow the order, di ba? Ayan, so, kaya mabilis yung propagation siguro doon. Yun yung aking pinaka-opinion lang ha. Kasi nagbabasa naman ako ng mga historical books. Okay, so a later development arose in North India that came to be known as the Mahayana or Greater Vehicle. During the 3rd century BCE, a number of subtle variations began to take place in Buddhism at a time when the Mauryan king Ashoka was propagating Buddhist gospels through missionary efforts. Ito yung nangyari. Okay, though si King Ashoka, marami ding may mga pinatayo na diyang mga Buddhist schools. Okay, and then si King Ashoka, nagpadala siya ng mga missionary efforts sa iba't ibang lugar just to propagate the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism. Pero sinabi diyan na ang nangyari kasi during that time, halimbawa, ako dito nagle-lesson, syempre, maraming nakikinig. Iba-iba yung magiging interpretation natin. 'Di ba? Si King Mauryan, may mga pinadala siyang mga representative. Of course, pag nagturo yung mga yun, iba-iba din yung interpretation. Okay? At ang nangyari, instead na dumami yung members ng Mahayana din, dumami pa din yung sekta, okay, ng Mahayana Buddhism. Which is, matalakay natin, one of the issues yan sa Mahayana. Ayan. The Mahasanghika or the Great Sangha, one of the early Buddhist schools. Ito yung pinakauna-una, okay, na school na itatag din, okay, sa Mahayana Buddhism. Na isa to sa mga school na may malaking ambag kaya dumami yung members ng Mahayana Buddhism. Okay. Ayan, so naipatayo yan or kasabay, okay, nung Second Buddhist Council that occurred 100 years after Buddha's parinirvana. Okay, so 'di ba nga, okay, so yung ating tinatawag na word na parinirvana, yan yung final, a term used in Buddhism to refer to the final state of complete liberation or enlightenment which occurs after death. Okay, syempre, okay, yung ating parinirvana na-attain ni Buddha. Okay, kasi na-reach na niya yung kanyang enlightenment, final liberation. Kumbaga na-attain lang to sa kamatayan. Okay, pero hindi lahat. Okay, nakakarating dyan kahit namatay na. Especially kung hindi ka naman na-enlightened eh. Okay, 'di ba? Kung hindi ka pa enlightened, hindi mo pa mararating yung final state. Hindi ka pa nakakalaya doon sa samsara, which is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Okay, so sabi dito, it is believed to be the complete and final cessation of all mental afflictions and the attainment of ultimate peace and liberation. Ayan. So next, consider the historical event of religious Sikhism between the Mahasanghika and Shravitara Nikaya or the sect of elders. Ito isa rin sa mga schools or Buddhist schools na napatayo. Okay, another major Buddhist schools transpired during the said council. Malaki din ang ambag nito kung bakit syempre dumami yung members ng Mahayana Buddhism. Next, Mahayana Buddhism developed a rich philosophical tradition including the concept of emptiness, which holds that all things lack inherent existence. Focus tayo dun sa konsepto ng emptiness. Ano ba yung tinatawag na emptiness sa Mahayana? Okay, ang sinasabi lang dito para mas maintindihan natin, the concept of emptiness means that all beings or all the things here on earth is interconnected with each other or related, may konektado sa isa't isa lahat ng bagay. The concept of emptiness. Next, Mahayana Buddhism also developed a complex system of bodhisattva vows which encourage practitioners to work for the benefit of all beings and delay their own enlightenment until all others have been liberated. Okay, syempre, pinaka-patok or pinaka famous na konsepto sa Mahayana is yung Bodhisattva. Okay, 'di ba? Sabi ko nga sa inyo, yun is yung being na dinelay na yung own enlightenment just for the sake of other people. Pero bago ka syempre makarating sa or maging Bodhisattva, may mga vows yan or syempre may mga requirements ka or qualifications na kailangan mong ma-attain. Okay, or dapat masunod. Ayan, next. Mahayana Buddhism produced a number of important texts, including the Lotus Sutra and the Heart Sutra, which continue to be widely studied and revered today. Ayan, so in the latter part of our discussion, mas madami pa tayo or madidiscuss natin yung iba't ibang text or sacred text ng Mahayana Buddhism. Next, ayan, punta naman tayo sa beliefs and practices nila. Okay, nabanggit ko na kanina, ang Mahayana, yan, first beliefs and practice nila is the Bodhisattva ideal. Ano ba yan? Mahayana emphasized the Bodhisattva ideal, which is the aspiration to become enlightened for the benefit of all beings rather than solely for one's own liberation. The Bodhisattva is seen as a compassionate and altruistic being who works tirelessly for the welfare of all sentient being. Okay, so ito na po, Bodhisattva ideal. Sino kaya yung pwedeng maging Bodhisattva? Kumbaga ikaw talaga is selfless. Okay, hindi ka selfish, selfless. Iisipin mo yung ibang tao bago yung sarili mo. Okay? And pinaniniwalaan nila na ang mga Bodhisattva compassionate and altruistic. Altruistic, ito yung you are working for the benefits of all or for the benefits of the majority. Okay, kumbaga parang ikaw ay yun na, nabanggit ko na, selfless. Ayan. Next, emptiness. Nabanggit ko na yan kanina kung ano yung tinatawag nating emptiness, right? It means that all things are interconnected with each other. Ayan. So, Mahayana places great emphasis on the concept of emptiness or shunyata, which refers the lack of inherent existence or independent self-nature in all phenomena. Ang hirap intindihin pero pag in-explain, interconnected, related, lahat ng bagay, mas madali. This is seen as the ultimate reality beyond all conceptual constructs. Next, the concept of compassion or karuna is another central tenet of Mahayana and is seen as an essential quality of the Bodhisattva. Nabanggit kanina natin doon, quality, characteristic ng isang Bodhisattva, pagiging compassionate. Okay? May empathy and concern for the suffering of all beings. Kumbaga, nabanggit pa ulit-ulit, ang Bodhisattva, selfless. Okay? Actively working to alleviate that suffering. Kumbaga, siya ay tinutulungan niya yung ibang tao para matakasan, makalaya doon sa tinatawag nilang suffering. Okay, 'di ba? Pag ikaw ay nakalaya doon sa suffering, ano yung ma-reach mo? The word enlightenment. Ayan. So number 4, the Buddha nature. Ayan. So Mahayana teaches that all sentient beings possess the potential to become fully enlightened. Ayan. And that this potential is inherent in their nature. This is known as the Buddha nature or the Tathagatagarva and is seen as the basis for the Bodhisattva ideal. Ito namang Buddha nature, they believe that all beings have the ability or the capability to be enlightened. Ayan, to be enlightened Buddhas. Okay, no matter uh, what your gender or social status, wala yan. Okay, lahat tayo may kapasidad. Okay. Next, the Prajna Paramita. Ayan, so the Prajna Paramita Sutra, isa siyang sutra, ito yung collection ng texts that form an important part of Mahayana literature. They emphasize the concept of emptiness and provide detailed teachings on the nature of reality. Dito sa Prajna Paramita, ito yung collection ng mga sacred texts ng Mahayana. Nandiyan na syempre, pag sabi natin collection ng text, nakapaloob na din diyan yung mga konsepto ng emptiness, compassion, and other doctrines. Next, Avalokiteshvara. Ayan, si Avalokiteshvara ay isang bodhisattva. A bodhisattva who embodies the quality of compassion and is one of the most important figures in Mahayana Buddhism. The mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, which is associated with Avalokiteshvara, is widely used in Mahayana practice. Later, matidiscuss natin yung iba't ibang mga Buddhas, mga Bodhisattva. Okay, malalaman natin na hindi lang si Siddhartha pala yung Buddha, no? Okay, ng Buddhism. Okay, next. Meditation. Of course, similar sa traditional version ng Buddhism, hindi nawala sa Mahayana yung tinatawag nating meditation. And it is one of the key or key factor or way to attain enlightenment. Mahayana places great emphasis on meditation as a means of developing insight into the nature of reality and cultivating compassion. Practices such as mindfulness, concentration, and visualization are commonly used. Kumbaga dito is you are clearing your minds palagi in meditation. Okay, next, Bodhisattva vows. Mahayana practitioners often take a set of vows known as the Bodhisattva vows, which involve making a commitment to follow the Bodhisattva ideal and work for the benefit of all beings. Ayan, may mga, syempre, if you are aspirants na maging Bodhisattva, okay, syempre, before that, dapat munang patunayan ang sarili mo. And if you are talagang super nandun yung puso mo, yan, meron kang vows na gagawin dyan. Hindi lang basta-basta ang pagiging Bodhisattva. Parang yan sa Roman Catholic. Mga pari, bago sila naging pari, bago sila naging mga ministro, they undergo in several trainings. Okay, and test. Okay, di ba? Okay, so these vows are seen as a way of deepening one's practice and commitment to the path of the Bodhisattva. Ayan, so proceed na tayo sa issues. Ayan, medyo mabilis pero pag nasa classroom tayo, sobrang tagal natin because in classroom kasi, we're internalizing talaga. Siya, nagtatawag ako just to get your opinion, your insights, di ba? So first issues nila is the interpretation and translation. Ito Mahayana texts were written in various languages, and translations into other languages can be difficult, leading to different interpretations of the same text. Okay, ito yung isa na sa mga issues nila. Yung yung kanila kasing text, di ba, is nakasulat sa Pali language or sa Sanskrit. Pag sinali nila or translate nila sa ibang language, though similar yung parang translation, pero nag-iiba kasi yung meaning. Okay. Halimbawa, okay, sa English and then Tagalog. Pag merong, pag sinabihan ka ng like, say, mga words na you're dumb, ganyan. Parang hindi naman natin masyadong gets minsan, you're dumb. Okay, di ba? Pero pag sinabi tayo ng directly na, para namang ikaw ang tanga mo, gayon, or parang bad words na super Tagalog, mas masakit, 'di ba? Okay, nag-iiba yung meaning. Katulad din dito. Okay, but bakit kaya mga bad words yung akin na ibigay na example? We're in a religion, so disregard na lang natin yon. Ayan, so but here talaga, interpretation and translation. Nag-iiba minsan daw yung meaning pag itinatranslate sa ibang language. Next, complex doctrines. Mahayana Buddhism has a complex and diverse set of doctrines and practices that can be difficult to understand for non-experts. Especially, di ba, issues nila to. Especially kung may bagong member. Okay, so may mga mahirap intindihin ng mga doktrina or katuruan. Kahit nga sa atin, ako Christian, ako may mga katuruan or doktrina sa Christianity na ngayon or parang malabo pa din sa akin na mga pare, ministro lang yung nakaka-explain. Okay, meron din naman sa Mahayana ng ganun, complex doctrines. Next, sectarianism. There are many different schools and sects within Mahayana Buddhism, which can lead to disagreements and conflicts over doctrine and practice. Okay, nabanggit ko kanina ang Mahayana sekta na siya ng Buddhism. Pero under Mahayana, madami pa ding sekta si Mahayana. At yung mga sekta niya, minsan nagkakaroon ng mga disagreements and conflicts. Okay, about the teachings. Ayan. So, issues nila yan. Next, ritualization. Ayan, may mga kritiko daw argue that Mahayana Buddhism has become overly ritualized with an emphasis on external practice rather than internal transformation. Kumbaga, 'di ba? More on overly ritualized daw. Parang puro external practice yung ginagawa. Wherein dapat ang goal nila is more than internal, 'di ba? Transformation, enlightenment yung inaatin nila . Okay, pero minsan overly ritualized daw. Ayan, 5, commercialization. In some places, Mahayana Buddhism has become commercialized with temples and practitioners seeking to profit from tourism or other activities. Kumbaga parang pinagkakakitaan. Okay, which is hindi maganda. Okay, issues nila yan. Next, modernization. As with all religions, Mahayana Buddhism faces challenges related to modernization, including changing social attitudes, scientific discoveries, and technological advances. Ayan. So, kung ating titingnan ang Christianity, I'm not comparing, but we are trying to look on how Christianity evolved through time. So, tingnan muna natin. When it comes sa marriage, that is strict yan. Pag kinasal ka, talagang wala nang hiwalayan. Pero ngayon, uso na, di ba, yung mga divorce? Okay. And aside from that, yung dati sa Christianity, male and female lang yung kinakasal. But now, may mga bansa na din na nagpa-practice ng same-sex marriage. Which is, parang sumasabay sila. Okay, dun sa tinatawag na modernity. Okay, but in Mahayana, ito yung challenge sa kanila. Okay, kasi parang nahihirapan daw sila sumabay. Okay, sa modernization. Okay, next. Siguro nahihirapan sila kasi more on conservative sila. Okay, strict yung kailang doctrines . Okay, kaya ganun. Next, cultural adaptation. Mahayana Buddhism has spread to many different cultures and societies. And as a result, it has undergone a process of cultural adaptation that can lead to changes in its teachings and practices. Ano daw nangyari diyan? So, alimbawa, may sa atin, sa China, Japan, Korea, Mahayana Buddhism, yung nandun for example. Okay, so, In that particular country, China, Japan, and Korea, though isang religion lang yan, for sure may distinction yan. May touch yan or may influence pa din yung culture ng isang location doon sa religion. Kaya, hindi natin masasabing magkaparehas talaga yan. Okay, kahit nga sa Philippines eh. Okay, sa atin ang Christianity natin, we are too conservative. Sa ibang lugar ang Christianity hindi, 'di ba? Okay, na-allowed yung iba na magpakasal same-sex marriage, pero dito sa atin bawal. Bawal ang divorce. Ayan. Dala yun ng ating cultural identity. Na tayong mga Pilipino, talagang we are, ano talaga, kung ano yung nasa Bible. Yun. Okay. Next, secularization. In some places, Mahayana Buddhism is losing its religious character and becoming more secular, with some practitioners focusing on meditation and mindfulness rather than traditional religious practices. Kumbaga, means parang sa pagtagal daw, nawawala na yung essence, okay, ng Mahayana Buddhism. Dahil nga sa siguro modernization. Kahit naman sa Christianity, kung mapapansin natin, sa ibang lugar dati, ang dami-daming sumisimba. Pero ngayon, wala na. Okay, di ba? Yung mga traditions minsan, okay, parang nawalan. Though, makikita natin na, halimbawa, sa Christianity, tulad nung napapansin natin sa Roman Catholic, for example, hindi ko yung aking observations lang ito. Hindi ako nandito para mang-judge or what. It's based on my observation. Minsan may mga, halimbawa, may mga prosesyon, okay, or mga parade ng isang saint. Yung iba, syempre may mga talagang truly devoted doon ng mga tao, yung mga deboto talaga. May iba naman doon na gusto lang makiusisa or what. Okay, wherein basta lang may post sa social media na hindi naman naramdaman yung essence nung event na yun. Okay, parang ganun. Next, proceed na tayo sa core teachings. The core teaching of Mahayana Buddhism is the concept of Bodhisattva, which refers to a being who is committed to achieving enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Ayan. So, ito yung pinaka-core teaching sa Mahayana. Okay, yung idea or concept ng Bodhisattva. Now, proceed na tayo sa second. Tapos na tayo, medyo nahaba-haba or malapit na tayo. Okay, so we will draw an insight about the Tzu Chi Foundation, an organization. Kumbaga, ito yung pwede nating i-compare sa mga Kapuso Foundation, sa ABS-CBN Foundation, mga ganyan, kapamilya. Okay, so ito naman, the Tzu Chi Foundation is a Buddhist organization that is committed to the promotion of compassion, relief, and humanitarian aid. The organization is involved in numerous acts of generosity. Okay, madami silang mga steps or mga mission, advocacy. Okay, ang pinaka main advocacy nila is to help. Okay, to provide assistance for those people or individual who is in need. Okay, next, one of the acts of generosity of Tzu Chi Foundation, disaster relief. Tzu Chi Foundation provides emergency aid to victims of natural disasters such as earthquakes, typhoons, and floods. The organization provides food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and other necessities to those affected by disasters. Kahit sabi ko nga sa inyo, parang Kapuso Foundation or Kapamilya, na pag may mga bagyo, earthquake, nandyan sila, tumutulong sila doon sa mga taong apektado. Nagbibigay ng pagkain, mga gamit, damit, or kung ano man na wala doon or yung pwedeng maitulong. Next, charity. Tzu Chi provides assistance to those in need, including the elderly, yung mga tatanda. Okay? The sick, may mga sakit, syempre, for example, free medical assistance. And the disadvantaged, ito naman yung mga, siguro may mga kapansanan, ayan. The organization runs numerous charity programs that provide financial assistance, healthcare services, and educational opportunities for those in needs. Next, environmental protection. Tzu Chi promotes environmental protection by organizing cleanup campaigns and tree planting activities. The organization also promotes cycling and waste reduction. Ayan, maganda yung hakbang ng Tzu Chi Foundation. Nakikiisa din sila sa pagprotekta ng ating kalikasan. Okay, nag-organize ng mga cleanup drive, tree planting, and many more. Ayan. So next, blood donation. Oh, wow. Okay, Tzu Chi encouraged blood donation as a way to save lives. The organization has established blood donation centers in many countries, and it regularly organizes blood drives. Okay, syempre, ito namang blood donation na yan, malaki ang naitutulong talaga, especially madami tayong mga kapatid or mga um, kasama dito sa mundo na kailangan yon, especially yung mga may sakit, yung laging dapat sa linya ng dugo. Okay, malaki yung naitutulong na yan. Okay, next, education. Nabanggit ko din kanina sa charity, di ba? Tzu Chi provides education and training to individuals in need. The organization has established schools and educational programs that offer free or low-cost education to disadvantaged individuals. Ayan. Nagpa-organize ng mga trainings. Okay, ayan. So, idadagdag ko din dito sa charity yung educational opportunities. Okay, kung titingnan natin dyan, okay, so nagbibigay sila ng mga scholarships din, programs for those in need. Next, punta naman tayo, tapos na tayo sa Tzu Chi Foundation. Ano? Okay, so based on sige, before tayo mag-proceed, para naman refresher muna. So, based on the acts of generosity, ano yung possible na ma-form natin? Okay, about sa Tzu Chi Foundation. Maganda ba siyang organization or what? Okay, in my point of view, we can say that Tzu Chi Foundation is a good organization. Okay, kasi nga doon pa lang sa aim nila to help or to seek assistance for those people who is in need, very good na tayo doon. Okay. Kumbaga dito sa pagtulong nila, hindi naman nila tinitingnan dyan yung religion or kung ano man yung race mo. Okay. So, kumbaga is, pag kailangan ng assistance, tulong, go, especially during calamities. Ayan. Next, proceed naman tayo doon sa views ng mga Mahayana Buddhist kay Siddhartha Gautama. Again, who is Siddhartha? Siddhartha is the founder of Buddhism. Ayan, so very good. So Mahayana Buddhists believe that Siddhartha secretly taught key principles to chosen people, to his most dedicated disciples or the most faithful who could completely interpret these teachings in time. Sabi ng mga Mahayana Buddhist, si Siddhartha daw may mga tinuruan, okay, ng pasekreto. Kumbaga ito yung mga chosen people. Tinuruan niya ng teachings niya na magagaling mag-interpret or makakapag-interpret ng kanyang mga sinasabi accurately. Okay. Ito yung mga trusted niyang mga disipulo. Okay, next. Second, Mahayana Buddhists forwarded the concept that Siddhartha Gautama was actually a benevolent celestial being, not just a mere human being. Because of his love for humankind and zeal to help the people, he came to our world in human form. Ayan, so sabi ng mga Mahayana Buddhists, si Siddhartha daw is a benevolent celestial being, parang si Jesus. Okay, na nagkatawang tao para sa humankind. Okay, so yan yung kanilang view kay Siddhartha. Next, Mahayana Buddhists advanced the radical idea that Siddhartha Gautama was not the only Buddha. There were other divine beings that came to our world even before Siddhartha. Some of them came after him, and still others will come in the future. Naniniwala silang hindi lang si Siddhartha, yung Buddha, okay, na nandito, nakarating, or na tumira dito sa mundo. May mga nauna pa daw kay Buddha, okay, at may mga paparating pa in the future. Okay, next. Ayan, so proceed naman tayo sa mga sacred text. The first one is the Lotus Sutra. Ayan, so Lotus Sutra is widely regarded as one of the most important and influential sutras or sacred scriptures of Buddhism. In it, Shakyamuni expounds that ultimate truth of life to which he was enlightened. Sino yung si Shakyamuni? Okay, si Buddha, diba? The sutra's key message is that Buddhahood, the supreme state of life characterized by boundless compassion, wisdom, and courage, is inherent, okay, within every person, without distinction of gender, ethnicity, social standing, or intellectual ability. Okay, kumbaga, okay, yung Buddhahood natin, okay, mararating natin yan regardless of our gender, ethnicity, social standing, or intellectual ability. Hindi dyan tinitingnan. Okay, next. Okay, as the SGI President Daisaku Ikeda has written, the Lotus Sutra is ultimately a teaching of empowerment. Empowerment. It teaches us that the inner determination of an individual can transform everything. It gives ultimate expression to the infinite potential and dignity inherent in each human life. Okay, nabanggit ko na nga kanina, regardless of your gender, social status, and intellectual capability, wala yan. Okay, pwede nating marating ang Buddhahood. Okay, next, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra or the Prajna Paramita. Nabanggit natin yung Prajna Paramita kanina. Okay, a collection of sacred texts ang Prajna. Okay, Prajna Paramita refers to this perfected way of seeing the nature of reality, as well as the particular body of sutras, and to the personification of the concept in Bodhisattva known as the Great Mother. In Tibetan, it's known as the Yum Chinmu. The word Prajna Paramita combines the Sanskrit words Prajna, which means wisdom, with Paramita, which means perfection. Okay, next. Prajna Paramita is a central concept in Mahayana Buddhism and is generally associated with the doctrine of emptiness. Okay, nandun nakalagay yung doctrines of emptiness or lack of svabhava or essence and the works of Nagarjuna. Its practice and understanding are taken to be indispensable elements of Bodhisattva path. Next, the Heart Sutra. True to its title, this short sutra goes to the heart of the doctrine it summarizes. In the space of a single page, some versions adding an introductory and a concluding paragraph in words ascribed to the Bodhisattva or Buddha to be of compassion. Avalokiteshvara, the Heart Sutra discusses the doctrine of emptiness, shunyata, which is the nature of reality. Okay. Ayan. Next, the process of death and rebirth. Ano to sa sulat sa Heart Sutra. The samsara. The suffering or the dukkha. Okay. Pag hindi ka pa nakakalaya sa ating suffering, okay, hindi ka pa rin nakakalaya sa samsara. Okay, which is the process paulit-ulit, papanganak, mamamatay, reincarnated ulit. That one experience while knowing that one may die. The effects of past action or karma. Okay, that bind one to samsara. Okay, kung ano yung ginagawa mo dito, puro kasamaan, ayan. Magre-reflect yan doon sa after, ano mo. Halimbawa, pag namatay ka, kung ano mang reincarnation ka. Ayan. The skandhas that constitute a sense of selfhood. The ephemeral and microscopic dharmas that constitute phenomenal reality, all are revealed to be devoid of permanence and thus empty. Awareness of such emptiness leads to release of moksha. Okay, so tingnan nyo, awareness of such emptiness, okay, leads to release of moksha or freeing of soul from samsara and to the wisdom that precedes enlightenment or buddhi. Okay, next, Land of Bliss Sutra or Sukhavati or Pure Land of Bliss. According to followers of the Pure Land schools, which are widespread throughout East Asia, rebirth in Sukhavati is ensured by invoking the name of Amitabha, particularly at the moment of death. According to the larger of the Pure Land Sutras, only men may be reborn in Sukhavati. Okay, yung Sukhavati natin is the land of bliss. Na after mamatay daw is pwede doon ma-attain ang, kahit kung hindi mo pa na-attain yung enlightenment, possible. Doon mo ma-attain. Okay, pero may paniniwala na only men may be reborn in Sukhavati. Hindi daw mga babae pwede. This teaching was repeated and adopted by some Buddhist groups as a Pure Land teaching, spread from India into East Asia. Okay, some vernacular, pero meron naman tayo, some vernacular Buddhist writings, particularly in East Asia, kasama ito China, Japan, Korea, demonstrate a popular belief that women may also enter Sukhavati upon death. Possible ding maka-enter ng land of bliss. Okay, or the pure land of bliss, ang mga babae. Okay, next. Punta naman tayo dun sa the concept of trikaya. Tri, which means tatlo, or the three bodies. Parang yung ating sa in Christianity, the Holy Trinity. Okay, so dito sa concept of Trikaya, the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. So yung ating Dharmakaya, this refers to the truth body or the ultimate nature of reality. It is a state of being that is beyond form or characteristics and is often associated with the concept of enlightenment or the Buddha nature. Ito yung truth body, the ultimate reality, yung katawan mismo natin, the Buddha nature, that we, all beings, has the ability to be fully enlightened one. Okay. Ito namang Sambhogakaya, ito naman yung enlightened na. Okay, this refers the enjoyment body and is associated with the blissful state experienced by Buddhas lang. And so Sambhogakaya, enlightened na, and enlightened beings. It is said to be an expression of ultimate nature of reality in a form that is accessible to those who have achieved a high level of spiritual realization. Yung mga Buddhist na naka-achieve ng high level of spiritual realization. The third one, Nirmanakaya. This refers the emanation body. Okay. And is associated with the physical form of Buddhas and the enlightened beings. Physical form, okay, kung ano man, di ba sila na niniwala sila na mga celestial beings sila. Okay, yung physical form ng mga Buddha. Sa halimbawa, si Buddha Siddhartha, dati daw celestial, nagkatawang tao. It is said to be the way in which Buddhas and enlightened beings manifest in the world to teach and guide others on the path of enlightenment. Na pumunta sila dito, nagkatawang tao, para tumuro or tulungan yung ibang mga tao para ma-reach yung enlightenment or path to enlightenment. Ayan, so let's discuss the subdivision of Mahayana. Okay, the first one, the Pure Land sect. The Pure Land sect is one of the largest and most popular sects of Mahayana Buddhism. It is based on the belief in Amitabha Buddha. Okay, tandaan ha, naka-anchored ang Pure Land sect kay Amitabha Buddha. And the Pure Land, a paradise-like realm where believers can be reborn. Okay, ano nga yung ating term na ginagamit kanina? Okay, ito, balikan natin ha, baka nalimutan. Okay, yung ating Sukhavati. Okay, di yan pwedeng ma-rebirth. Okay, or reborn after death and eventually attain enlightenment. The sect emphasized the recitation of Amitabha's name as a means of achieving rebirth in the Pure Land and cultivating faith and devotion. May mga nabasa ako na references that at to reach the Pure Land sect, kumbaga para daw may sinasabing password, okay, through that, i-recite mo lang daw yung name ni Amitabha, okay, para makapasok sa Pure Land sect. Pero wala naman sigurong totally password yun. Okay, pero dito sinasabi, the sect emphasized the recitation of Amitabha's name as a means of achieving rebirth. Okay, para makapasok sa Pure Land sect kung hindi ka pa enlightened. Okay, next, the intuitive sects. Okay, the intuitive sects, also known as the Zen or Chan, okay, emphasize the direct experience and intuition as a means of attaining enlightenment. This is often achieved through meditation and other spiritual practices such as koans or riddles or paradoxical statements and other forms of mental training. Kumbaga dito sa intuitive sects, puro mental training, meditation, okay, mga spiritual practices yung pinaka-main activity. Okay, the intuitive sects include various sub-schools such as the Renzai, Soto, and Obaku Zen. Next, the rationalist sect. The rationalist sect, also known as the Madhyamika sect, emphasizes the use of reason and analysis as a means of understanding the nature of reality and attaining enlightenment. This sect is based on the teachings of Nagarjuna and other Indian philosophers who developed a complex philosophical system to explain the nature of reality and the nature of mind. Okay, yung pinakapangunahin naman dito, the use of reason and analysis. Dito sa ating intuitive mental training. The Pure Land sect, ito naman yung paradise-like realm where believers can be reborn and attain enlightenment. Okay. Then, the socio-political sect, okay, also known as the Engaged Buddhism, emphasize social and political engagement as a means of realizing Buddhist ideals in the world. This sect emphasizes the importance of social justice, environmental protection, and other forms of activism, and often takes a critical approach to traditional Buddhist institutions and practices. Ayan, from the word itself, socio-political. Naka-anchored naman sila sa mga political engagement. Okay? pangunguna doon sa importance or pakikipaglaban sa social justice, environmental protection. Okay, next, Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is a distinct form of Mahayana Buddhism that developed in Tibet and other regions of the Himalayas. It includes a wide variety of different schools and sects, including the Gelug, Kagyu, Nyingma, and Sakya schools. Tibetan Buddhism emphasizes the use of visualization, ritual, and meditation as a means of achieving enlightenment and places a strong emphasis on the role of the guru. Ayan, the guru, parang spiritual teacher. Di ba ang the living Buddha nila is si Dalai Lama, guru. Okay, in the student's spiritual development. Okay, let's discuss. Ayan, yung mga famous Buddhas naman. In India, while the primary Buddha revered in India is Siddhartha Gautama, of course, the founder, there are also local Buddhas who are venerated, such as the Jina Shakyamuni, okay, who is believed to have been born in India and achieved enlightenment there. Ayan. So, isa din aside from Siddhartha, si Jina Shakyamuni din ay isa sa mga Buddha sa India. In China, the most famous Buddha in China is Amitabha Buddha, who is the focus of the Pure Land sect. Ayun, nakafocus daw sa Pure Land sect of Mahayana Buddhism. Other important figures include Guanyin or Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Ayan. And Maitreya, the future Buddha. Ito hindi pa parating pa lang. Excuse me. Next. Sinipo na ako. Next. Number 3. Tibet. In Tibet, the most famous Buddha is the Dalai Lama, who is considered to be the reincarnation of Avalokiteshvara. Aba, parang reincarnation daw ni Avalokiteshvara or the Bodhisattva of compassion. The Dalai Lama is the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism and is revered as a living Buddha by many Tibetans. Okay. Number 4, Korea. The most famous Buddha in Korea is Amitabha Buddha. Ang famous ni Amitabha, who is also revered in China. Other important figures include Shakyamuni or Sakyamuni, the historical Buddha, and Guanshombo-sal, Avalokiteshvara. Diba sa China, si Guanyin ang pangalan ni Avalokiteshvara. Okay, or the Bodhisattva of compassion. In Japan, the most famous Buddha is Amida Buddha, who is the primary focus of the Pure Land sect of Mahayana Buddhism. Parang si Amitabha Buddha din, Amida Buddha, iba lang spelling. Other important figures include Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha, okay, and Canon, or the Avalokiteshvara. Diba? Canon sa Japan, in Korea, ng pangalan ni Avalokiteshvara. He is known as, okay, Guanshombo-sal. And then sa China naman is si Guanyin. Okay. Next, Vietnam. The most famous Buddha in Vietnam is Amitabha Buddha. Ayan, ang famous naman ni Amitabha, who is also revered in China and Korea. Other important figures include Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha, and Quan Am, Avalokiteshvara. Tandaan nyo ang pangalan ni Avalokiteshvara dito in Vietnam. The Bodhisattva of compassion. Ayan, so, before we end out, let's have a short quiz. Ayan, so tingnan natin. Mag-ano muna tayo dito, quiz. Ayan. Ayan, so anyway, parang hindi nagagana. Ituloy na lang natin. Ayan. First question, what is the core teaching of Mahayana Buddhism? Okay, answer. The core teaching of Mahayana Buddhism is the concept of Bodhisattva, which refers to a being who is committed to achieving enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Second, okay, so dapat yun ay dun sa ating Paris, yung pinaka, what do you call this, yung ating wheel of fortune. Ayan, number 3, as a Christian, do you think that the teachings of Buddhism are also applicable to you to become a better person? Explain and cite examples. Dapat ito yung personal opinion, So, itatanong ko na lang ito sa during discussion pag tayo nag-meet. Okay. So, in my point of view, the teaching of Buddhism such as compassion, mindfulness, and non-attachment can be applicable to anyone, regardless of their religious or cultural background. Pwede natin gamitin yung konsepto ng compassion, mindfulness. Okay, lagi naman The practice of mindfulness can help individuals become more present and focused in their daily lives. while the cultivation of compassion can improve one's relationship with others. Moreover, the idea of non-attachment can encourage individuals to let go of material possessions, ayan, or negative emotions that may hinder their spiritual or personal growth. Okay, for number 4, what is the three bodies in Mahayana Buddhism? Okay, so the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. Okay, how about what are the key concepts of and practices of Mahayana Buddhism, such as emptiness and compassion means? Ang ibig sabihin niya. Okay? Emptiness, this refers to the true nature of reality, which is said to be empty of inherent existence or self-nature. Emptiness is a fundamental concept in Mahayana Buddhism and is seen as a way to overcome the ignorance and attachment that lead to suffering. Okay. Nandun na naman, it refers to true nature of reality, which is said to be empty or inherent. Okay, next, compassion. Mahayana Buddhism places a strong emphasis on compassion and the aspiration to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings. The Bodhisattva path, which is the path of the altruistic aspiration to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, is based on the cultivation of compassion. Ayan. Ayan, so that's all for today. Okay, so i-refresh na lang natin ito sa ating face to face para mas uh, ma-clarify yung mga confusion. And of course, a reminder, we will have a quiz in our next meeting. Okay, so thank you again and God bless us all.